I want to talk about the importance of praying for the persecuted church. This Sunday is the International Day of Prayer for the persecuted church, and so some of you may be thinking about doing just that. And I want to encourage you to not only do it this Sunday, but to make it part of your regular practice. I think there are two reasons we should be praying for the persecuted church. One is biblical. Paul, in his letters, is constantly requesting prayer. Prayer for other churches, like the church in Jerusalem that was suffering. And honestly, prayer for himself. I mean, he was kind of the walking persecuted church. Wherever he went, he was being persecuted, and he was often in chains for the gospel. I became convinced, though, of the importance of praying for the persecuted church, not just for the biblical reason, but because of the example of church history. It's often said that the seed of the church is the blood of the martyrs, and that persecution actually does lead to the growth of the church. And that's true, but if it's sustained long enough, hard enough, in a particular location, it leads to the end of the church. There was once a thriving church in North Africa, on the Arabian Peninsula, in fact, throughout the Middle East. There is now almost no church in portions of North Africa, no church on the Arabian Peninsula. Why is that? Because of sustained persecution. So I don't want us to have romantic ideas about persecution. We don't need to be afraid of it, but we should take it very seriously, and we should be praying for the church. I try to make sure that every single Sunday I am praying for the church in parts of the world where there's persecution going on. I'll pray for the president or the ruler of that nation by name and ask that God would turn him into a promoter and defender of religious liberty rather than a persecutor of religion. And then I'll pray specifically for the church in that particular location, that God would strengthen it, that God would make the church faithful there, would cause them to bear up under persecution and trial, and cause the gospel to flourish. And in doing that, every single Sunday, different countries, different places, I'm trying to train my congregation to think about the church all the time. Now, you can do special events. I think one of the best things going on right now is what David Platt has done with the underground church, where he gathers his whole church, and they experience for maybe 24 hours what it's like to be an underground church, just like there are places in the world today. But we need to not lose sight of the fact that there are brothers and sisters that we're going to spend eternity in heaven with that are suffering right now because of the gospel. And we want to, at the very least, participate with them in that suffering by holding them up in prayer regularly, faithfully, so that God's gospel would go forth boldly, even under chains.